Hi guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel if you are returning, and welcome if you are new. So today, I know that I usually don't talk in my videos, but today I would like to try to do a little tutorial. I've been practicing on a lot of my detail work in my drawings and trying to include a lot more detail work, and so I just want to give you guys kind of a tutorial on how I draw certain things. So I'm not saying that the way that I'm going to show you how to draw this hair today is the way that everybody draws hair, or that it's the only way to draw hair. It's the way that I draw hair. So it's a tutorial on how I draw my hair. So there's no right or wrong way, I think, to draw, period, or to make art. You know, everybody has their own style. Everybody has their own way of doing things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the way anybody does their art. It's their interpretation of something or a vision. So with that being said, let's open up sketchbook here today, and I have my bookmarker so I can come right to the page that I want to come to. And as you can tell, I already have a few sketches of some bald-headed characters over here, and after we go over the basics of how to draw the hair the way that I draw it, then we're going to use these heads to add different hairstyles. So if you want to draw with me, go ahead and grab your book or a piece of paper and a pencil or pen or marker or paint, whatever you use, and let's draw together. So to start off, there's 3 different types of hair that I want to draw today, and one of them is braids, the other one is twists, and the other one are dreadlocks. So the way that I'm going to start each one is going to be basic shapes, and then we're going to go in and add, you know, our structure lines, and then lastly go in and do like our detail work. So to start off, let's go with probably the most simplest one, which will be the dreadlocks. So basically how I start my dreadlocks is I draw the shape of the hair. So dreadlocks they can be short, they can be long, they can be mid-length, they can be fat, they can be skinny, they can be, you know, in the medium size range. So it's all a preference on how you want to draw your hair. So if I wanted to go pretty thick, I could do a pretty thick one. I could go, you know, medium length. And then I can go, actually that's kind of like, that one's, yeah, I guess medium length for that one. And then you can go pretty thin on them. So there's my different thicknesses of my hair. And then also you want to, you know, plan out if you want them to be straight, if you want them to have a curve. And then some dreadlocks even have the crinkly look to them. So all of that is what you want to start off with, or that's how I start mine off, is I give my hair its basic shape. Some of them even are just straight. Okay, so I've given my dread my basic shape structure, and then I go in and I decide if I want to give it a rounded edge to where it's like pretty much the same length from root to tip, or I can come down and give it a more thinner look as it comes down and round it off so that it looks like the hair gets thinner as it goes down. And then you can even come down to where the hair is pretty much coming down to a point. Now I haven't seen a lot of dreads that come down to a point, but when we go into our braids and our twist, this is a style that I like to incorporate a lot, because when I do my hair in braids or twist, then my hair, I bring it down to a point where the hair pretty much goes as thin as it can get and just, you know, ends. But with our dreads, I either come to like a rounded point or a blunt round end. So either, any design that you want, any style that you want, be completely up to you. So once we have our basic thickness and shape that we want our dread to be in, then that's when we want to go in and start adding those dimensional details, which is going to give it shape. So usually, you know, you would think that you have to go in and do like all these itty bitty tiny lines. But when I draw, you know, super detailed realism, you might want to go in and do more detail work. But with my style, I'm kind of like I would say cartoony, but in a realistic way. So I try to keep my proportions realistic, my characteristics realistic, but in a more cartoony style. So with my dreadlocks, I like to give them that rounded feeling. And so I just want to do some loose strokes here, but I want to round them. I don't want them to be straight. You don't want just straight lines like this, because it gives it no kind of roundness to it. Dreads aren't a flat object. Dreads are like a pencil. They're round, so they have like a round shape to them. So I'm going to go in and just give my dreadlocks some rounded strokes. And I don't want them all to be the same size. So you can see some of them are pretty short, some of them reach almost to the other side, and some of them go about halfway. You can do just like a random variety of these strokes, and then you want to go back on the other side and draw more that kind of, some of them might touch the other one, some of them might not. Some might go underneath, some might go above, some might go right into the other ones, but you want to give that rounded shape on the other side so that it looks like there's little circles in there. So that's how I draw my dreads. And then you can go back and even those lines that are straight, you can go back, add the little details on the side to make it look like it has a textured edge and not so flat and straight. And you're going to go back on the other side and do the same thing. All right, so then we can go, and you don't have to put the lines super close together. Like you can have some spread out a little further, you know, further down. Because some dreads are smoother than others. And like I said, there's no right or wrong way to draw this, as long as the end result is to your liking. Because like I said, art is an interpretation, your interpretation of something. So it doesn't have to look exactly like something, unless you're going for like realism or ultra realism or something like that. But if you're drawing in your style, or you're just practicing, having some fun, or even you're doing a finished art piece and your style is to exaggerate things, you know, that's perfectly fine. Like I said, so long as you're happy with the end result. So there's a couple examples of how I do my dreads. These are the chunkier ones, and then these are the medium-sized ones, and then the smaller ones we would do the same way. Now, after you have your dreads, then you can always go back and start adding the shading into them, because that's going to give it even more depth. And you want to shade in the same direction as your lines, your little strokes that you have over here that give the dreadlock its curve and its dimension. You want to shade in a similar direction. So that is what the dreads look like in my style, the way that I draw them. And like I said, they come in different shapes. Your basic outline is going to show the shape of it. Then your tips, how you want the ends of them to be. And then start adding in all your lines for detail. And then lastly, your shading. Okay, so moving on from dread, let's move on to the twist, which is not hard either. So it's a step up from the dreads because there's a little bit more line work in there. So same way that we start off our dreads, when we do our twist, we just want to start off with the shape that we want our twist. So we can have the same thing. We have a thickness that we want to give them. We have a end that we want to give them, and we have a shape that we want to give them. So I'm going to do a pretty straight one here, a curved one there, and then a really small kind of twisty crinkly one over here. And then with my twist, I always bring them down to a point, but I will do one with a rounded edge just for the sake of this video, for those that like the rounded bottoms. Okay, so now that we have our basic shape of our twist, I hope you guys can see that. I draw pretty light when I'm just doing my framework for everything, so I didn't want to do it dark, but I'll do it a little darker so you guys can see. But those are the shapes that you can do, and you can do any shapes. Like I said, they come long, short, super long, any kind of way that you want to do them. But with our twist, we want to start off with our shape, pick your ends, and then we're just going to take our pencil and we're going to start going at an angle. And we just want to draw these angles in here, and we want to keep them all the same distance apart. And we want to keep them all at the same slant. So with that, it looks terrible, I know. But after you go back in and start shaping out your edges, which you want to just do humps from one line to another. So you just do these little humps, connecting this line and that line till you get to the bottom. And then you want to go on the other side and do the exact same thing. So you're rounding out your sides. And I know it still looks kind of crazy, but believe me, trust me, it's going to end up looking like a twist in the end. So once you have your sides humped out, then you want to go in and you're going to connect where you have your draft lines here. You're going to connect this point to this point, but we're not going to go straight across. We're going to give our twist some dimension. So what I like to do is I like to follow the curve and come down a little bit and then come back up to connect to that one. So I'll show you that again. I just follow the curve of this, come down, and then back up and around. Down, back up, and around. So that it starts to give like that swirly, twisted effect. Down, back up, and around. Down, back up, and around. Down, back up, and around. And that's all you have to do for the twist. So really they're a bit, less complex than the dreads because there's not as many small detail lines in it, but sometimes this can get tricky because if you don't keep your lines a universal length apart and you start angling them at different slants, then your twist can come out pretty wonky. So the key is to keep good distance and keep the angles even. So with the one that kind of curves a little bit, then that's when we have to pay attention to our angles. We want to keep that same angle of the braid. So if the braid's going this way and our angle's going this way, when it starts going this way, we have to angle our angle that way. So let's go over how to do this. So we've got our basic shape and we're going to start drawing our angles. But as it turns, we want to turn our angle with it. And as it comes back out, we turn our angle back out. So some of your lines might look almost straight across because the braid has turned, but that's okay. You want to keep the angles at the same width, but make sure that you're turning your slopes with the direction of the hair, if that makes sense. So now that we have our slopes in here, let's go in and add our bubbled edges. So starting from the top, we're just going to add our bubbled edges on both sides. So all the way down and then back on this side. Excuse me, as well. All right, and then we're going to go in and down and up, down and up, down and up, down and up, down and up. So now we have our straight twist, our curvy twist, and now let's do our last one, which is like a really windy one. So same way with this, we're going to start our angle, and then we're going to make sure we keep our angle going with the braid, with the twist, sorry. Now, don't worry if you try this and you can't get it the very first time. Drawing takes practice. Art takes practice. You know, you're not going to be happy with every single drawing or every piece of work that you do. I throw away so many pieces because I'm not happy with it. It's all a learning process. So don't get frustrated. Just keep practicing, and eventually I promise you will get it. So now that we have our slants and our angle, let's go ahead and round out our edges once again on this one. And that line that you drew that shapes your hair is very important. You want to follow that line, because if you don't, you will lose the shape. I'm just going to add, see it, following my line. It's the very bottom. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to add my line here in the middle of each one. All right, and there we go. So we have a straight one, a curvy one, and then a really crinkly one. So like I said, you can do any length, any width, even any thickness, you know, it'd be completely up to you. But now we have our dread, and then we have our twist. Oh, so before we move on to our braid, now we can go back and we can add the detail work in our twist. And when we do that, all I like to really kind of do is go back and add some little fine hairs. So I'm gonna just add a couple of those. And when I add in those, I just start from the point over here and just add in a few strokes of hair. Just like that. And then I can go back on this side and do the same thing. Okay, so then we have the hair look, and you can do that on all of them. Just add your little strokes of hair in there. And then you can even go back and add some shading. And that's what it starts to look like. Now let's move on to our braids. So the braids, the exact same way. We want to give it a shape. We'll do one kind of curved down to a blunt point, and then we'll do one straight to a small point or sharp point, and then we'll do one with some wave to it. Okay, now the braid will probably be the most not hard, but you probably would put more practice into doing your braid just because there's a little bit more to it. So now that I have my shape, The way I start my braid is I go and I make a line going almost all the way to the other side, but I don't go all the way. Then I start from this side and do the same thing. And I just keep going back and forth like that. So you start from one side, go almost to the other side at an angle, stop before you reach the end, and then come a little bit above it and start coming back down and do the exact same thing to the other side. So what you're doing is, it looks like you're weaving these spaces together. So let's go all the way down. And with braids, usually they'll start off thicker at the top and start to get smaller at the bottom, which is pretty much with all hairstyles because your hair gets thinner as it gets to the bottom. So now you have like this weaved effect going on here, and we're going to do the same thing that we did with the other ones and round out those sides. So you're connecting this line to this line, this line to this line, or these points. I know it's kind of hard to see the angle that I have, and I'm sorry, but just follow that edge line and bubble out the sides. You want to go back and do the same thing for the other side. So now you have your bubbled out sides. Then we're going to go back, and just like we did with our twist, we're going to give it that curve, that bubble curve that on each of these. So we're going to follow our curve and then round it out this way. So we rounded that one out, then we're going to do the same with that one. Go back and round that one out, then round that one out, round that one out. I'm going to keep going down each one until you reach the bottom. All right. Missed a couple up here. Go back. And now you have your braid. And now it looks like the hair is going in and out, in and out, in and out, like the braid should. Okay? All right. So let's do it again on another one. Pretty straight one here. We just want to bring our lines. Keep crisscrossing them all the way to the bottom. And with braids, you can space these out as much as you want to. You can put them as tight as you want to. It's up to you. And once you get down to the bottom, kind of just disappears into the point. So then we're going to come back, add our curves. On both sides. And then go back in and give it those final curvy lines. So it's not so blocky and straight. And then once you get down to the bottom, kind of just dissipates into that point. All right. So there are a few examples of the braids. And then you can go back like you did with your twist and add in those little fine hairs. A little bit more. to mention. And if you just like your braids without the extra hairs, that's fine too. And then you can go back and do your shading. So basically those are the 3 ways that I draw my different hairstyles. We have the dreadlocks, the twist, and the braids. Now, moving on, over here I have my little bald-headed girls, and I am going to give them different hairstyles. But for that portion of the video, I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to relax, enjoy myself, and make a few different hairstyles. And then at the end, I'll come back and we can share some final thoughts together. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll see you at the end. complete. I didn't go into a whole lot of detail on each individual braid, twist, or dreadlock, and you don't have to do that either. Like, especially the ones that fall farther in the back, you can just do some shading on them, kind of let them disappear into the back, because you don't see all that exact line definition, especially when you're not doing like hyper realism or anything like that. So these are how my 3 girls turned out. I'm pretty happy with them. There are the twists, there's the dreads, and then there are the braids. So pretty happy with those. If you drew along with me, don't be upset if yours didn't turn out exactly how you wanted it. Like I said, it takes practice. I'm still going to tweak these out a little more and then post the finished images on my Instagram, which you can go follow me on. I'll leave the my Instagram name down in the description below, so please go follow me over there. You can see a lot of my artwork that I don't post videos of. I draw pretty much every day, so if you want to see some more of my artwork, feel free to go over there and follow me. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you learned something today, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't learn anything, or if you have your own opinions on how you draw your stuff, I would love to hear, you know, in the comments how you do yours, or link a video to how you do yours, because like I said, I don't believe that there's a wrong or right way to draw, and I take inspiration from everybody. I'm still learning as an artist too, and I love to see other creations and other methods. So definitely, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you want to check out future videos from me and get notified when I post new videos, go ahead and click that bell. And I hope to see you all on my next one. Hope everybody has a blessed day. I enjoyed you all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.